Boy Morris, and this is MMT Mondays. Tonight, we dig deeper into how black Americans will be lifted by a federal job guarantee, including the policies Dr. King and his wife Coretta supported. Some might be surprised to discover Dr. King was an outspoken advocate for a federal jobs guarantee, which he talked about in many of his speeches. I have a dream. It's often the only speech the corporate media trots out, but there are many others, and they were just as significant. Make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notification buttons below, and let's get to it. We begin with a clip from Macaroni and Cheese, where Professor Matt Forstater describes how Dr. King's vision of a federal job guarantee will relieve social and economic ills by providing jobs that serve the public purpose. In other words, the benefits are twofold. They provide an income, while the jobs themselves provide services for the community.
So I had been familiar with some of Dr. King's speeches and writings, but I think, like many, I had missed or forgot the first time around not only how much he was focused on the economic question as necessary to answer in order for civil rights and advances in political rights and social and political equality to actually take root and hold. Without the economic peace, without economic security, then the promises of the gains of the civil rights era and other advances in the political and social spheres just will not take hold and be real. You have to have the economic peace. And then within the economy, King was focused, I mean, a laser like focus on the problem of unemployment. In addition to, of course, racism. So you have joblessness with all the social and economic costs that accompany long term unemployment. And then, as well, the economic security, financial security, income, which also means spending. King and Rustin both wasn't their main focus, but they did at least each once mention that business people should welcome true full employment through a job guarantee with open arms, because the income that is created is in the hands of those with lower and middle income groups that have unsatisfied consumption demand just in the realm of basic needs. And so the money's going to be spent, and who's business going to sell to if people don't have any income to spend? So it's something everyone can understand, but there are several specific characteristics of Dr. King's job guarantee proposal that I think it would really do us well to pay attention to. Basically, he elaborated four different parts of his vision of the job guarantee. So the first is that the development of skills and education are outcomes of the program, not prerequisites of the program. So it's jobs first, training later, while being paid, rather than being trained for non existent jobs. And then the second is that the jobs are producing community services, social services, public services that are in short supply and that benefit the neediest communities. This you do not get with the income guarantee. So, this is the sort of supply aspect of the job guarantee, that labor is being directed towards our most pressing needs. Of course, Green New Deal, we know including environmental and social justice and so on. And then the third characteristic is that the program does generate income for individuals and families that have unmet basic needs, and so is absolutely key to increasing just basic standards. And then the fourth characteristic of Dr. King's vision of the job guarantee is that there are numerous social and even psychological benefits for individuals, families, communities, and the nation as a whole. And many of these are based on his recognition of what we would discuss under the heading of the social and economic costs of unemployment, that unemployment is related to virtually every major social problem that we have. And so a job guarantee would go a long way toward alleviating many of these social and economic ills. But you can see that the income guarantee, universal basic income, there's no necessary skill and education development. There's no producing the community and public services that are benefiting the community. So these characteristics, only the income piece, which is one of the four, because the fourth, the social benefits, psychological benefits, are all related to the research outside of economics in anthropology, social psychology, sociology, about the importance of work, and not at a demeaning sub minimum wage job, but to be able to really pursue one's life craft or life mission. I'm a teacher, you are an activist and communicator. So we're all able to develop our talents and through doing so, give back to the community.
Now we'll take and listen to another episode of Macaroni and Cheese where Arami Osei Frimpong explains how a federal job guarantee will empower many poor black Americans who must often hustle to survive.
Also, you need to think about what it looks like to democratize power.
Yes.
And how democratizing power is the key to public safety. And in the same way that if you have an urban center and you want to keep it safe, you could hire a lot of police, or you could do things to increase traffic, because where there's more like people walking around, there's actually less crime.
No kidding.
So instead of having like secluded streets with a dicey number of people walking through, if there's a lot of foot traffic around, there's less petty crime. So like you need to empower people and think about safety through those kinds of mechanisms as opposed to police. And one way to empower people is give them good jobs, right? So Alton Sterling died from police violence because he was selling CDs out of his car at midnight. And by the time you're selling CDs out of your car, you don't have access to a $22 an hour job where you could save up capital and like have a nice studio and get like money for marketing and distribution.
Yep.
And then like quit that job, try your music business, and when that fails, go back to that job like a real entrepreneur should be able to. So like Alton Sterling died just because he was excessively vulnerable as a part of being black. The list goes on of people who just died from the quality of economic vulnerability. Eric Gardner died selling loose cigarettes, right? So like that's what happens when you don't have guaranteed access to a $22 an hour job and the only job you can get. It's important that the federal job guarantees are actually a good job, because right now we've underpaid black people in the labor market for so long and at so many different sectors and jobs that like it's kind of taken the shine off of jobs. If you can only get $9 an hour living in a city, like why even work in the above market, right? So we need to normalize good jobs. And the way to normalize good jobs is with a federal job guarantee as a matter of right. And when they did it in India, it actually increased private sector employment because You had like a better public infrastructure for private sectors to do business, and it made the private sector make working for them a better experience, and more people went to the private sector. There's so many ancillary goods that come out of having a federal job guarantee that disproportionately help Black people, especially if it's a good job at a good wage that will make the private market actually treat Black people like whole people.
Finally, we will end with a reading of a passage from Dr. King's A Freedom Budget. The Freedom Budget is a practical step-by-step plan for wiping out poverty in America during the next 10 years. It will mean much more money in your pocket. It will mean better schools for your children. It will mean better homes for you and your neighbors. It will mean clean air to breathe and comfortable cities to live in. It will mean adequate medical care when you are sick. So where does the freedom come in? For the first time, everyone in America who is fit and able to work will have a job. For the first time, everyone who can't work or shouldn't be working will have an income adequate to live in comfort and dignity. And that is freedom. For freedom from want is the basic freedom from which all others flow. This nation has learned it must provide freedom for all if any of us are to be free. We have learned that half measures are not enough. We know that continued unfair treatment of part of our people breeds misery and waste that are both morally indefensible and a threat to all who are better off. As A. Philip Randolph puts it, here in these United States, where there can be no economic or technical excuse for it, poverty is not only a private tragedy, but in a sense, a public crime. It is above all a challenge to all morality. The Freedom Budget will make that challenge the lever we can grasp to wipe out poverty in a decade. Pie in the sky on your life. Just simple recognition of the fact that we as a nation never had it so good. That we have the ability and the means to provide adequately for everyone. That simple justice requires us to see that everyone, black or white, in the city or on the farm, fisherman or mountaineer, may have his share in our national wealth. As you can see, a federal jobs guarantee, as envisioned by Dr. King, Coretta Scott King, and many others, would lift millions of unemployed people out of poverty. A job guarantee would create opportunities to serve the public purpose over the needs of profit and directly empower Black Americans in their communities. If you enjoyed tonight's video, make sure to leave a comment below and check us out at realprogressives.org, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications on our new video streams in YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, Facebook, and Rockfin. Also, if you enjoy our content, consider going to realprogressives.org/donate to help us each one teach one. Thank you, and continue learning.